I don't start out making an artwork saying, oh, well, this is what it's going to be, as much as I just start, and it eventually tells me what it's about. My work manifests an interest in boundaries that has taken place over the last 30 years of my artistic life. Boundaries that are physical, and maybe more importantly, boundaries that are psychological. We come across personal boundaries as a child. Don't touch that. That's a boundary. That stove, the top of that stove. It's a warning. It's almost a threat. If you do that, something bad will happen. We incorporate that into our belief system of what things we need to do, of what we believe is the correct modus operandi of our lives. We build it into our total belief system, our mythology, our personal theology, if you will. And as we progress on those kind of personal boundaries, as we come across new data and new information, we either accept it because it reinforces those boundaries that we already have, or we disregard it and says, well, this can't be right because it doesn't fit into my particular encapsulated comfort zone. So that idea of things that are boundaries that in one sense tell us this is a safe place, but there may be things about it that aren't safe, that we need to be aware of. And that whole idea of being attuned to what's going on around us and being attuned to ourselves, what our fears are, what our strengths are, and this, that, and the other thing, again, goes into the creation of the works. When I left graduate school, my thesis show involved creating sculptures that fit in a different space. So I created one that went in a corner. It was specifically designed to be in a corner. I built another one that went from the floor to the wall, up the wall. I built another one that basically forced you to take a particular path through the room that they were in. They were painted in cautionary yellow and black symbols, and that whole thing of designating place and using art to address those spaces in an interior environment was the beginning of this whole process. Jump from graduate school to not wanting to teach, wanting to make things, and I was fortunate enough to land a job as an exhibit designer and builder for a brand new natural habitat zoo in North Carolina. Here we were building boundaries of containment, but in a way that the public who saw them didn't see them as boundaries of containment. When I was in Ireland, the standing stones fascinated me, and they presented first designation of place, but then I also saw them as boundary markers, but I didn't know why. What was the boundary that they were addressing? And that kind of led me to the psychological boundaries. Physical boundaries and breaking them can be a very beneficial kind of thing. Well, what if the warnings aren't adequate? What if they're not real? What if they're incorrect? then your boundaries have to adapt. You have to analyze. You have to ask yourself, is this boundary keeping me safe, or is it a lie?
When a friend of ours told us about Lake City and what was going on here, we'd go, really? And I looked on the map and go, it's in the middle of nowhere. And we came here, but Roger kept pushing Lake City. And so I said, okay, we're going to go look at it. And he said, let's stop at the Chamber of Commerce and talk to them. Let's go do this. Let's drive all around. And we did all that. But Roger, who had been so scared about moving to Chattanooga, was all in for moving to Lake City. And it really didn't take long to get me on board either, because it seemed like the right place and the right time for us to do this. The first time I heard Roger talk, I had not met him yet. He was doing an artist talk at Green Hill Center for North Carolina Art in Greensboro. And he was referring to things like the mythology and the standing stones and various things. But his conversation about his work to me was so amazing, so well said and well put, and so heartfelt that I said, I gotta meet this man.
My making of manifestations of psychological boundaries and barriers and warnings and lies and how we react to them and what our belief systems are and whether we should accept them or be critical of them or question them, that's my bliss. That's what I do. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that.